Well, welcome everybody. My name is Katie Rosenbaum. I am Senior Director of Strategic Engagement and Operations at AIEA. Delighted to have you all on the call to talk through a little bit about this year's call for proposals process for the 2027 AIEA Annual Conference. At this point, I'd love to turn it over to our illustrious conference chair and past president, Paulo Zagalo-Melo, to give us a little bit more information about the conference and the event. So, thanks.
Thank you, Katie. It's great to see so many people joining the workshop. It's also great to see another former president of AIEA here on the call and the conference chair. So I'd like to start by going over the four main topics that we have listed for this year for the conference. The conference has been evolving. I think it has been very interesting for those of us who have been in several conferences, several AIA conferences over the last few years to see how we're adapting to our audience, to our membership, and to the field. And the field is evolving, so we always feel that we need to do the same. And we have I'd even start before that with the motto for the conference this year, which is nurturing leadership, shaping global education. And to explain a little bit why we chose that motto. We are an organization, an association that distinguishes itself from other organizations in terms of how we represent and convene the leadership in international education, in global education. But for an association that sees itself and displays itself as the convener of leadership in the field, it is important also to be a place that nurtures the future, that leadership, and nurtures the future leadership in our field, in global education. And it is that leadership and that nurturing of the future leadership that drives the future of global education. And that's why we also chose the tagline Shaping Global Education, because we do believe that all your contributions to the conference are in fact what shapes our field to a large extent. The many things we've seen happening throughout international education are conversations that took place at one point or another within AIEA and at the AIEA annual conference. So with that said about the motto, I'd like to go on to talk a little bit about the four main areas we have, four main topic areas. And the first one, not surprisingly, because we are focusing on leadership, it is leadership in global education. And we want you to submit proposals where you actually cover how do you nurture leadership in the field? Do you develop programs or have programs in mind or have ideas for leadership developing program, leadership nurturing programs in your organizations or in the association itself, in your universities, in your organizations? How do you detect potential future leadership for not only your institution, but also for the field? We also would like to see expect to have proposals that address issues of leadership. For instance, how do you maintain visibility and collaboration for the field, for your position within your institution? How do you lead with your 360 people at your organization? what are issues that some of the areas of global education bring up for someone leading different areas of international education at their institution. And also another topic within leadership is crisis management and resilience. This has marked our field for several times throughout history and as well currently. How do you face serious crisis within your institution or in the field of international education? How do you build the resilience necessary to face those crises? Those are some of the topics. They're not exclusive. There's some of the ideas that we have where we would like to see proposals. And this, I must say, this area is very new in terms of being displayed so centrally in the conference, but it is an area that, as I mentioned before, defines the very identity and nature of the association. Another area is transnational education, TNE. The acronym has been on several publications on international education and on several posts everywhere. We are obviously rethinking the way we deliver programs in terms of their location. How can we deliver programs in partnerships, in different types of partnerships outside of our campuses, outside of our of the country of your institutions? We would love to see proposals for sessions that address some of the frameworks for partnership development. How exactly do you establish those partnerships? What's the layout for the partnership? What are some of the key features of the partnership? Are you developing partnerships that you think are innovative within your institution? Because if they are, chances are they'd be innovative for many other institutions and possibly for the whole field of international education. And not all partnerships are equal. Some of them serve very different types of purposes, and we would love to have you share those ideas, those innovations, and the frameworks that you're using for that partnership development. And then we would love to see also to hear about innovative models of transnational education delivery. There are partnerships with other universities where you deliver part of the program, shared between both universities. There are currently some models where the delivery of the program is made entirely without collaboration with a partner university. There are many models, and we would really like, I think the field would gain from seeing some proposals for sessions to bring up these models, these frameworks, and to share them with colleagues and to debate them with colleagues. Another topic that is very new for AIEA is internationalization of medical education and health professions. This, we feel, is an area that within our institutions obviously that have either medical school or health professions, and there are many. Even when we have these areas within our institutions, sometimes we feel that we don't connect with them as well as we connect with some other colleges and schools. But they are running internationalization programs within those schools and colleges. And I feel that, together with many other colleagues at the AIEA and in the field, that we have not brought this topic or the people who work on internationalization of these fields to AIEA and to talk with all of us the other leaders of AIEA. I would love to hear to have session proposals on global health education, on cultural competence in patient care, which when we talk with any medical professionals or any health professionals, they always bring up, increasingly bring up the issue of cultural competence, the role of cultural competence in patient care. And if this is important in the field, then in the medical field, in the health professions field, then we should be addressing it because it does have to do with international education and global education and cross-cultural education. Then we have partnership development for medical education and health professions. We want to hear about the models and examples of partnerships in these particular areas. So if you have these areas within your institutions, if you work in these areas, if you work in institutions that cover these areas, please encourage the people who work in these areas in your institutions or yourself, if you're the case, to submit proposals covering these topics. I think it'll be a kind of a moment in the conference. Having this topic will be a moment in the conference that will be a shift in terms of how we relate, generally speaking, with the topics of internationalization in medical education and in the health professions. And last but definitely not least, we want to hear about trends, strategies, and innovation in internationalization in general. So outside of the other three topics, what are other trends that might be topic specific or that might be more general? What are the trends? What are the strategies? What's new in terms of what you're doing in internationalization, be it in a specific area of internationalization, such as education abroad, international enrollment, partnership development, or generally speaking, in how you structure internationalization on your campus? How do you structure your team and your international office or your organization to interact with the other players in international education? We are very open to have you bring these insights and to share them with us, with all our colleagues, in the different kinds of sessions we have for the conference. And this is actually a very good segue for the next part, before we open to questions, which is, well, what are the different layouts, the different types of presentation that I can consider to send when developing my proposal. And we have news in that area too. We are launching also new types of presentations for presentation layouts for this particular conference. But for that, I'll hand off the virtual mic to Katie.
Thanks so much, Paulo. I appreciate it. As I look through the list of participants, I definitely see a lot of familiar faces, but I also see a lot of new faces. So just out of curiosity, I think you all should have access to like the hand. Could you raise your hand if you have not been to an AIEA conference in the past, using that raise your hand feature, just to get a sense of sort of like how many folks. I see a couple. Great. Okay. Yeah, that's helpful. That's great.
I
Thank you
think we
guys. And I
had
see
5 or 6, yeah.
5 or 6, and I see a couple, or at least someone else in the chat as well. So first of all, welcome. And if you would like sort of more context on the organization, I'm happy to stay afterwards as well. And like if you are brand new to AIEA, sort of give a little bit more introductory information if that's helpful. So we're really glad you're here and delighted to hopefully welcome you to the conference this year. As Paulo mentioned, we do have a few ways to participate in a couple different session types. So I'll go ahead and go through go through all of them, and rather than making a presentation, all of this information is on the website. So I'm just going to share screen so that you all also have easy access to that as well. So let me just pull that up. Um, So when you go to the conference sessions, there's a lot of details here that if you're interested in submitting a proposal, I really recommend sort of looking through this whole area here. We try to answer a lot of questions in these materials as well. But for those of you who are newer to AIEA, our sessions are not necessarily papers the same way that they are in a lot of academic conferences. They really are more interactive sessions, engaging in conversations. I think something that's interesting about our conference is that everyone in the room is an expert on something. So we really do try to engage with sort of like the collective knowledge of the people in the room. And so because of that, like I think the most standard session and what people typically think about when they think about AIA sessions are panel sessions, 50 minutes, um, three presenters typically. So it can be like a chair and two presenters, or a chair that doesn't present and three other presenters. And it really brings people together to explore a topic or a challenge or a strategy from different perspectives. And while it is 50 minutes, we do encourage like, a substantial amount of time within that also for conversation, Q&A, engagement with participants. Um, we also have our sort of other standard type session that we're known for our roundtable sessions. And this really is meant to be not a presentation, but people who've come together to say that this is a topic that is worth discussion. So, sort of creating a framework for a facilitated conversation amongst participants at the conference. So very interactive, maybe 5 or 10 minutes of some framing remarks or some data or something like that. But then really like questions to really bring things out of participants that are in the session, to focus on dialogue, and create meaningful conversation and shared learning. So those are sort of our two standard types of sessions. We also are introducing a couple new approaches that I'm particularly excited about. One of them is the lightning round talk. And so what this is this is really intended for someone who has like a single idea, a single framework, a single case study, something that they're very proud of with like a couple lessons learned, an emerging issue or an emerging trend. It could be like a grad student with like some super interesting and key research that's really relevant. And what it is, it's we ask people to come with like a 7-minute TED Talk style, high impact presentation. And what we do is we will curate them into a 50-minute session. Um, so the talk should be, concise, engaging, accessible. And I think that, one of the questions that we received prior to the session from people who registered was, how do I find co-presenters? We can talk about that in a minute, but if you don't find co-presenters, this is always an option as well. So we're very excited about that. Definitely a pilot, so we will see how that goes. And then we're also doing poster presentations this year, which again, we're excited about. I want to say it's been maybe 15 or 20 years since we've had posters at AIEA. But this is a way to really engage again with like the research that's happening, data, innovative practices. And yeah, we will have like a poster space and some dedicated time for presenters to stand by their posters and answer questions, reach out, have conversations with people who have been able to, who will be able to go around and look at these different posters during these hours. Um, so yeah, and in terms of the different types, I think we're really open to anyone who has things that will add to the conversation about internationalization leadership. So our core members are senior international officers, so those who lead internationalization at their institutions. But we also encourage presenters who are faculty, who are students, who are other practitioners, government, anyone who really like, again, is contributing to the leadership of international education as a field. We definitely want to hear your voice. The deadline is August 1st, so that is coming up. And then on here, we do have, again, information about selection criteria. Highly recommend if this is your first time submitting a proposal to, again, like look at this because it is slightly different than a lot of like, scientific abstracts or other types of sessions. of academic conferences. And then again, I think when you're looking for co-presenters, we do have this document that is a shared Google Doc. Let me see if I can get it to open. Where you'll see there's actually a couple people that have already put their information in as well. Where if you're looking for a presenter on a specific topic, you can come here, you can find people to maybe reach out to if the proposed topic resonates with you, or you can put your own topic on here and put your contact information as well. So this is another way. I would also say if you're a member, go ahead and post it in our members only LinkedIn group. You might find presenters that way, or even just posting on LinkedIn in general. I think that that's where a lot of our folks really tend to congregate virtually. Um, yeah, I mean, I think that like that is the main sort of the highlights. But would love to open it up for questions from any of you. And see, I mean, I would love to open it up to like to Jewel, or if there's anybody else who has presented in the past. If you have any advice or thoughts or things that you think would be helpful, by all means, would love for you to unmute yourself and share. It looks like we have a question from I'm probably not going to say this correctly, Gaganjot. Go ahead and
Hi, Katie. Thank you so much. This was informative for me. Sorry, I'm joining from India, so I'm not, it's very late for me, so I'm not on the camera, but I look forward to meeting you in consecutive meetings. I represent in Uni Global, which is part of Global University Systems. We are partners. And on behalf of team, I have one question. Can we submit two proposals? We were very keen to explore the TED style format as well, specifically on the medical side of avenues, because pathways are less explored in the transnational education. So we recently did something on that area.
Hello, this is
Try to
Jewel.
explore that. And then, so the question is basically, can we submit two proposals from one group?
absolutely, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Two or even three.
Okay,
I
that's
think
fantastic to know because we have so many stakeholders within our group. You're aware of that. So there is always something to, offer. I really like the idea of focusing on health, medical, and, the general overall framework. So we do touch base on all the 3 points.
Good.
So we look forward to submitting proposals, I think 2 to 3, maybe.
Good. No, you can submit multiple proposals. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
yeah.
And I just wanted to say that to Katie and Paulo and Ashley, I just met you for the first time. I'm sorry I didn't greet you earlier. I'm sorry. This is such a great opportunity, and I'm glad that we are thinking a little bit differently on the presentation. So the TED Talk style concept is exciting. And I look forward to, I'm going to submit a proposal this year. I just wanted to hear if there was anything different. And so now I hear that. And to my last colleague's point about submitting multiple proposals, I do want to encourage anyone on the call to do so. That is a great opportunity to just not only teach others, but to learn from others as well. And that's the beauty of AIEA, and what has been most beneficial through my affiliation is the learning that has taken place even under my presidency. I think we're all lifelong learners, and we all have opportunities to learn what we don't know. So being able to be in the room with so much knowledge and so much wisdom is amazing. And you will not be disappointed by our conference. It is one of the best for our field. I will say that, for our field. So I just wanted to put that shameless plug out there, and wish everyone the best in your submissions.
Thank you, Jewel. And I so agree with everything Jewel said. I mean, those of us who have started, coming to AIEA, to the conference, some of us more than 10 years ago, and have presented in at many AIEA conferences and multiple presentations even at the same conference. I think I had 3 presentations in 1 year. those of us who have experienced that know what it has done for our own roles in our at our institutions and in the field, and the relationships you develop that stay for. I mean, I have some of my best friends. My family is at AIEA. That's I used to say, "Oh, my friends at AIEA," and at some point one day, my wife corrected me and said, "I don't think they're your friends. They sound more like your family," and they are. So I really encourage you to participate as much as possible, and to share your ideas, your thoughts in the form of proposals for these different types of sessions that Katie described. Because the more you will put into this conference, certainly the more you will take out of it, and the more impact it'll have on you.
Yeah.
Please have your questions. We're here to also, help clarify any doubts, answer any questions. Robin, I think you.
Thank you. I'm sorry. I'm too stupid to figure out how to put up my little Zoom hand.
No, we love analog raised hands too.
Thank you. Thank you. I have presented at AIEA before, and I think when I presented, we had 4 people on our panel, and I noted that you limited that now to a chair and 2 presenters. The panel that we're thinking of doing, we actually have a moderator, an immigration attorney, and then 3 panelists. Would that be allowed?
That's fine. Yeah. I think that when we say like a non-presenting chair, that's just sort of like somebody who's in a moderator type position.
Okay, great.
And then up to 3 additional presenters I think
Great.
that's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Super. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And then another question that came in. Oh, I'm sorry. Did somebody have their hand raised?
Yes.
Adita, yes.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I used to work for the ex-president for AIA Amir, and now I founded a company, so I work with higher ed, but really on the pre-matriculation support, which is where the journey had been more complex, of course, with the uncertainty visas and all. So we've looked into a 200 students and families research on their anxiety about choosing US higher ed and what does that mean. Now coming out of higher ed and presenting, of course, a non-commercial proposal, what would be your recommendation since this is, I'm only used to on the other side, so this would be my first non-BAFSN representing proposal.
Mm-hmm. It's a very good question, and I really appreciate even the angle that you took for the question, and the fact that you see yourself on the other side of the the higher or internationalization players. But this is to some extent, a field, an industry, if you'd like.
Yeah.
And we have different types of organizations. And it is, I think, something that I see has evolved quite a bit over the years within AIEA, has been to try to get all different players in the industry of international education, of global education, to come to this conversation, because we need all angles. For instance, organizations that are non-profit organizations in international education play a role in the type of advocacy we have, in the type of programs we develop. For-profit companies that deliver services and products for international education have an important role as well, because ultimately our institutions, our offices hire those services because we need them, because they increase efficiency, they drive innovation, etc. So all players are important. This is not a field where one side has more value than the other. And I've presented throughout the years. I've been asked to present with representatives of organizations that are not universities, that are nonprofits, that are for-profit companies in the field. And I've always learned, and I've seen some really good presentations, important in the field, where several people on the panel are not the traditional international education leader working in the international office. So I welcome those presentations. The only suggestion I have, because it might help with the discussion, is to bring all the angles. Meaning, if you're talking about from the perspective of one organization, bring, for instance, someone from a university. You don't have to, but bring someone from a university that has an opinion and a view, and I've liked to be on that kind of panel. That's why my suggestion is coming from, to be honest.
Yeah.
I've liked to be on that kind of panel. So that's my only suggestion. Bring, enrich the panel, or I mean, I don't know if it's a panel, might be a round table, might be one of the TED Talk, might, kind of presentations, might be, but whatever it is, I think we always gain from having the different perspectives at the table and encouraging different perspectives into the same. But the fact that you represent a different type of institution doesn't devalue what you have to bring to AIEA.
Thank you so much. And I know I have to give roses to AIEA and their team. This started as an idea in AIEA, became an internal project to Babson, and was so successful that we were able to almost carve out a department and now a company. So I dropped out to start that. So it's a complete full circle for AIEA for us. So yeah, thank you.
Wow, I mean, just there. Just there you mentioned one of the reasons why AIEA is so powerful for the field. You're a good example of that, and the development of that company coming from an academic program at Babson is, and the fact that it developed within AIEA. Yeah, that means the world to us to hear about those examples, because those examples and those stories and people like you are what makes AIEA.
Absolutely. One of the questions that came in before, sort of on the registration form, was like, what would make a strong proposal? And just to sort of go through a little bit of what reviewers look for, and I think a lot of this is probably like, again, on the website or should be self-evident, but just to give a few little, I guess, touch points or things to think about. Our relevance to like international education leaders. So why is this important to those that are leading the field of international education? What can participants take back to their institutions or organizations? Is there something new or different or insightful that you're bringing? Is there clarity in the session? So can the reviewers sort of look at your proposal and immediately understand what your idea is? And then think about like what problem you're trying to solve or what opportunity you're trying to build from or capitalize on. So I think that those are a lot of the sort of things that reviewers are looking for, as well as really like diverse viewpoints. So having voices from outside of, being in an international office is actually, as Paulo mentioned, like seen as a plus. As well as making sure that, we have voices from inside and outside the US for different institution types. We really would love it. Something to sort of think about is, when you're looking at your proposal, is this something that somebody from a different institution type could still get something from? Is this something that somebody from outside of an institution that looks like mine, whatever that is, could still take things from and has relevance? And then reasons that proposals might not be accepted. A lot of them might be like too operational, so focus on tasks rather than like the leadership implications. too much of like a showcase of what you're doing at your institution or organization without exploring the broader lessons. I think the caveat to that is that that still could be appropriate for the TED Talk type sessions or the poster sessions, but probably not for like the larger 50-minute sessions. If it's too broad, if there's insufficient learning outcomes, so if it's not clear what the participants will take away, or like a limited audience relevance. So if it's a really interesting topic, but like not clear how many people it's actually relevant to. So yeah, we encourage, international presenters, cross-border partnerships, comparative perspectives, collaborative proposals. And yeah, I think that some of the things that have even just been mentioned here or in the document where people are sharing ideas are really exciting. So hopefully that also helps provide some things to think about as you're crafting your proposals.
A good way of seeing if you're presenting or submitting a proposal that has to do with leadership is to see if you're covering a technical challenge or a technical innovation, a change, or an adaptive change or innovation. And the difference is very simple. A technical problem can be solved with the existing knowledge, the existing expertise, and the current resources and structures you have at the organization. If everything is in place, allows you to solve the problem, it's a technical problem. Doesn't mean it's simple, but it's technical. You have everything you need to solve it. An adaptive problem or an adaptive challenge requires people to learn new ways. They have to shift their deeply held values somehow to address that challenge. They have to perhaps renegotiate some of their loyalties, institutional loyalties, social loyalties within the organization. Um, uh, and they have to really learn new ways and change some of the things, some of the ways they use to do to address that challenge. That's an adaptive challenge. You don't have you might have the resources, but people will need to change the way they do things. And to the point of even, reconsidering some of the values and principles you had before in solving that kind of problem. And in fact, it is one of the main problems of leadership. And I'll end my leadership TED talk here. One of the main problems of leadership is to not understand or fail to see when what they think is a technical problem is actually an adaptive problem. But if you're covering something that really need to change something that impacts people's way of doing things or the way they think or the way or makes them feel like they're no longer as valuable or their expertise is being dismissed. Those are usually things, anything that you cover in international education that has this impact or is of this nature is a leadership issue or involves a leadership issue. And believe me, it's not very difficult you don't have to dig very, very deep within your organization and the things you work on to find one.
I love that. A few more questions in the chat. One of them,
Okay.
by when will we have feedback on submitted proposals? So I tend to underpromise and overdeliver. So I would say, by the end of October, you should know. But the hope is to have it, I would say, by the end of September. So that's when we would hope to be in touch. But for the public consumption, I will say by the end of October, but it should be earlier. And I did put sort of like a little timeline in the chat as well that we'll notify fall 2026, and then the conference is February 15th through 18th. Once the proposal is accepted, We'll be in touch with a toolkit of things you can do to sort of promote your session, instructions on registration. We do have a mobile app, so we'll make sure we get all of the right information in the mobile app. And so we'll definitely be in touch over those months as well. And then there was a question about when we submit proposals, do we indicate the target audience? Yeah, I think that there's a question on the proposal that asks if it's for sort of international educators, international education leaders that are just starting out, sort of mid-level, experienced. But if there is like more specific than that, I would say just include that in the description. But I think that, generally we haven't really distinguished roles. I think, the way that I've always sort of conceptualized it is that if it's related to international education strategy, then that's where we should be. That's where these different sessions should be, and people can sort of pick and choose depending on the schedule, like what is most relevant to them in that moment. Let's see. Fantastic. Great. Thanks, Rebecca. We're delighted to have you on board and looking forward to meeting you as well. Any other questions, insights from those of you who are longtime members? Good. I'm so glad that this was helpful. That's great.
There's a question here about audiences. If proposals should indicate the target audience. I think it helps, of course. Although we understand that many proposals might be addressed to a very wide audience within, the type of professionals that are usually at AIEA. But if you have an audience in mind as you're developing the proposal, then I think it helps if you say it. We might even think once you read, or the reviewers, once they read the proposal, that it actually might be interesting. The proposal might be interesting for a wider audience than the person who submitted it thought it would. But it helps if we know what you're thinking about. I think the reviewers will have a better assessment the more they know about your ideas for the proposals.
Great.
And also message here from CEA saying that the board has identified AIEA as a conference we should attend. Makes me very happy. I know CEA very well, and makes me happy to see this message. Yes, you'll be so welcome. And even to submit proposals if you'd like.
Great. Well, I think we've pretty much gone through what we had hoped to for today. So thank you all so much for joining us. I will still keep the invitation open that if anybody wants to stay on and sort of get more general information about the conference or the organization, I'm happy to stay on and answer any lingering questions. But thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.